Good evening and welcome to the January 4th Recreation and Parks Advisory Board meeting. I am Christina Bishop. I'm the project manager for the department, and in the absence of a board chair this evening, I will be chairing the meeting. Once we have elections this evening, our new board chair will start setting agendas and chairing the meetings as our February meeting comes into play. Do a roll call and start with Veronica.
Sure. Veronica Johnson.
Glenn Larnard.
Dave McDonough.
John Lydon.
Jeff Kennedy.
And Don D. Graves.
Our first order of business is the approval of the December minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review? Okay. Do I have a first motion?
A motion to accept the meeting from December.
A second?
Second.
Is that you, Glenn?
Yes. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, motion passes. New business tonight. First off, our agenda, I think, shall be pretty quick. I mean, they're all pretty easy agenda items just to kind of get through, with the real meat being able to start with our new chair and board next month. We do have one new board member here this evening, Jeff Kennedy, if you want to give a little introduction.
Sure. So my name is Jeff Kennedy. Been in the county for about going on 4 years now. Active duty military still. Excited to be back in the area. We were here for 3 years, got orders out, and then asked to come back, and we were granted. So we've never double backed on a duty station, so this is pretty exciting. I've sat out in those chairs several times over the last year or so we've been here. I've got 4 kids. The youngest isn't in sports yet, but the other 3 are kind of sprinkled throughout all 2 surrounding counties to include this one. So we visit the parks and the trails and the museums and the athletic fields as well. So I just kind of felt compelled to kind of sit on the board and hopefully contribute and be a functioning member of the society that we've asked to come back to. So I appreciate everybody letting me be here.
Wonderful, welcome. First order of business here is election of officers. On your screen, I put up the descriptions of the 3 officer positions available for the Recreation Parks Board. You have the chairperson, who shall preside at the meetings, set the agendas, appoint all committees and subcommittees, sign any documents, and then perform any duties as prescribed by the members. You have your vice chair, who assumes all the duties of the chair when unable. And then we have a secretary. We haven't had the secretary position filled, but it is there. The secretary can aid in having additional notes for meetings that may have more specific details in it than the minutes, and prepares any correspondence and other materials as directed by the board. With that said, does anybody have any questions before we open the floor for nominations? No? All right. We'll open the floor for any nominations.
I'd like to move for the nomination, please.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Johnson as chair.
Do I have a second for that nomination?
I second that.
Veronica, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay. Wonderful. Do we have any other nominations?
I have a nomination.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate myself as vice chair.
Okay.
Come right off the top rope with it. So.
Bear with me because I have to do minutes at the same time. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'd like to ask if there, do we have a second?
John, second.
Yeah, I was going to second it, yes.
Did you second?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
No, I'm fine.
Should we discuss if there's other nominations?
Absolutely.
I would nominate Glenn Larnard as vice.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Glenn, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have any other nominations? No? Okay, so the nominations, the floor has been closed. We have one nomination for Veronica for chair, so we can go ahead and do a vote for that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Congratulations, Veronica.
Thanks.
Since we have two nominations for vice chair, we'll just do by raise of hand for each. So the first would be for, all in favor for Jeff Kennedy for vice chair. You raise your hand.
Are we voting for ourselves, or are we voting?
You can vote for yourself. Okay.
Is that what we're doing? Or are we?
We're
Right now,
doing
we're
votes
voting
for
for
Jeff.
Okay,
Okay? All in favor?
sure. I mean,
All right, so let the minutes show there was 2 hands. And then we'll do a vote for Glenn for vice chair. Okay. Let the minutes show that there were 3, making Glenn our vice chair. Congratulations, Glenn.
Congratulations, Glenn.
And thank you, Jeff, for wanting to be involved right off the get-go. That's awesome. Do we have any questions about elections?
I'd like to make a nomination for secretary,
Okay.
Mr. DeGraves.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, where was that?
Second.
Mr. DeGraves, do you accept the nomination?
I would like to open it up to see if there's anyone else that would like to take that position.
Anyone else?
If not, I'll accept. However, I'm going to accept it as a trial basis to see how it works out.
Okay. So we have a vote for Don DeGraves for secretary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nay? All right. Congratulations, Don. And for all of the newly elected officials, you know it is part of my job as staff liaison to help you through the process. Make sure you read and are very well versed with the Open Meetings Act. If you have questions about that, again, come to me. But you have plenty of support.
That is greatly appreciated.
Congratulations. So we are moving along to the annual report. Unfortunately, it is not available online right now, but you should have a copy in front of you. I did get a little late, so I emailed it out this afternoon, but I'm certain you probably need a few moments to read through it. Did everybody have a chance to read through it? Is there any discussion on the annual report?
The only discussion that I have, I'm fully fine with format and content. I would like some grammatical things cleaned up before it's submitted.
How do we, I'm gonna ask this the question. When I do have a question, do I just like put my hand in the air or just speak up like this? Is there a specific one? Okay. So being new and obviously not, I did not watch last January, so I do apologize. I watched most of the other ones. Where does this go? Obviously it goes to the commissioners, but so basically the summation of, and I've read through all of these things, we have meetings every month and then it rolls up to an annual report that gets delivered to the commissioners? Okay.
And it is also posted online for the public to be able to read as well.
Okay. Okay, so this is basically just our version of what Rex and Park already does, budget-wise. I know they have their own meetings.
There
with the
isn't a
commissioner.
real standardized content that's mandatory for the annual reports. It's really based on the chair and the members on what they want to have in there. So this would be a time where if there's something another member wanted included, we could do. Usually in prior meetings, those things are discussed and you can email the chair what kind of things you want in there. So that's really where the content comes from.
Is it so it's a statutory type requirement to have these delivered annually? But there's nothing saying in there about we can, like, if we as a board come up with other things of like, hey, this really needs to be brought to their attention prior to next January, we can do that? Same
Absolutely.
format, but it would be,
It's more of a memo. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but we can do memos to the memorandums to the commissioners at any time.
okay. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, this is a good way to wrap up all of the different things that the board has made suggestions on to have it documented.
Okay. Is there a feedback loop from them? We give them this document, but do they, if they're like, this thing is horrible and garbage, do they let us know?
I would assume they would if they had a problem with it. We did not get any feedback to my knowledge from last year's report.
Okay. So it's good in the absence of hearing something bad. Okay. I'm gonna have a lot of questions, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
happy to.
I will not drag it out though, I promise. I'll be quick, I talk fast. So.
Are there any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, so then I need a motion to approve and accept with grammatical corrections.
I make a motion to approve the annual report after grammatical corrections are made.
Have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes, thank you. So next agenda is Mr. Shepherd, and he's going to give us some updates.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And to Mr. Kennedy, welcome.
Thank you.
I enjoyed our time in the orientation period and getting you up to speed somewhat, and I'm sure with the board, your questions will be welcome. All right, I do have about 11 bullet points I want to provide updates, but one of the ones I think that I want to speak about first, even before we get into those updates, is the big miss, the vacancy, the void left by the recent death of coordinator Marcus Tyrone Harris. There was a public community event at the park this past Saturday night. Went very well, as anybody could expect. Well received. A lot of positive comments towards Tyrone's work and his disposition and his love for his community. And, as you know, this week, coming, the Tuesday night, there will be right here a viewing for Tyrone Harris on Tuesday evening, as well as a funeral on Wednesday. I'll have a chance to be able to bring some comments there, more about his role and his effectiveness and his loyalty to the department. So I just thought at this time would be a time to do that, and if anybody else had some comments, and then once those brief comments conclude, then if we could just stand for a moment of silence for Tyrone, I'd appreciate that. So is that all right to ask for comments? So if there's any other comments regarding Mr. Harris, and only if you feel led, and some know him better than others, but if you do, then after that, I'll invite you to stand for a moment of silence.
My only comment director would be that I would thank those who organized it. And I think it's a much appreciated effort on your part and everybody else's part. Thank you.
Bless you.
I think that Mr. Harris's presence will definitely be missed, and my prayers are with his family at this time.
I've been in touch with the family. quite a lot the past week, and some that are out of town are looking forward to getting back in town and meeting you, the community, and in a lot of them in gratitude for the life that Tyrone lived with us in this community. So they're grateful. They're grateful.
I can say for the short time that I've been here, I don't think there was a field that we ever went to or visited where somebody did not have somebody, meaning everybody there, didn't have his number in their phone of anything that was wrong. So it's definitely felt, and
Yeah.
hearts and prayers go out to them
And he answered that phone. That was the good part.
every time, every time.
All right, let's stand together for a moment of silence. May God's blessings on Tyrone's family. Okay. We're going to go around the horn a little bit today in recreation, parks, gymnastics, the whole works. Some of these might be a little bit repetitious, but I think so. We began youth basketball on December 9th, and we'll resume again after this holiday break this Saturday the 8th, and once again over 1,000 children participating, grades 1 through 10, and utilizing the schools predominantly, but got off to a real good start, and that's in light of we still don't have a sports coordinator. Our new sports coordinator, part of the report, will report this coming Monday, the 8th. Saturday was the 6th. Coming Saturday, basketball will be the 6th, but coming Monday, the 8th, we'll report over here at the Leonard Hall Recreation Center for his office, a young man named Zach Zalovic. Graduated in sports from Towson University, and we're looking forward to having him on board. He's going to have a lot to get adjusted to in the heart of the basketball season and all the other things that come with it. But we think he'll be a good add to the department. Youth soccer leagues, they begin on Friday the 12th. We have over 600 registered in youth soccer there at Leonard Hall Recreation Center. I just left there before coming over here. We've done if you've been inside, you know, with the new dashboards, we got the exterior portion that didn't come with it. We spent some additional money to tighten it up and also to make sure there weren't any falls and also to clean better. So I was over there this evening to see that. And inside was the Special Olympics. They utilized that for some of their winter sports in there, as well as the outdoor. And Jessica and I'll be meeting with the director of Special Olympics, Jeff Hagan, in a couple weeks to shore up the memorandum of understanding how they use from the golf course to the pool to Leonard Hall. So we're a great partner with them, and we really relish that partnership, seeing those young people. So this weekend will be a strong weekend with basketball. I'm telling you, in Gymnastics Academy, we now have over 400 registered in the recreation component, but we had 417 last year. So it isn't that we've gotten this great lift, but we still have from the rest of the weekend to Monday when the first class, and we register pretty strong right up until then. So we're right at 407. The competitive team has a meet this weekend. They've had some others. When they had it's a better name for it, but the in-house meet where they had a competition to learn. The judges were there, were the judges in meets that we have around the state, and they said because of our facility, they'd like for us to put in for a meet in November of 24, the judges meet for that this year. That'll be a big one to bring that to the county, a meet, and see how we do with that. We'll have some more in the future. Today I was there because of pickleball. You know, there's a pickleball court upstairs. We're looking to go indoors this winter with pickleball at Carver Recreation Center. And then I'm also going to have a meeting in February with pickleball because of the reservation system. A lot of people want to play at the same time. Some have more on the courts and people have to wait, and we're talking about fairness. So I want to bring the public in to see what the best move to do in that. And that's what we did today at the Gymnastics Center regarding a punch pass, how to get in both the places, cost, and as well as being fairness from intermediates to open play to the ones that are higher, more skilled at the sport. So brought the community in because I don't want to come up with a process that's not liked or doesn't have their input. So that was a real good meeting this morning, and look forward to the one in February with the outdoor sports. Pickleball is on the way, and then we also talked about, and Christy, Maryland Stadium Authority, that isn't on a highlight tonight, is it? But we're looking to give you an update there. Maryland Stadium Authority with that MOU go to the commissioners on either the 23rd or the 30th of this month to get that signed. So now the Maryland Stadium Authority can go with that $275,000 to begin the work on location, cost, and everything associated. And I brought that under the pickleball time because also in that could possibly be an indoor, at least a domed stadium for racket sports. So that would be all part of the ask there. Also, in staff-wise, and I'll slow down after this if you have any questions, the other staff person we just came on site, it was our school-age center child care. Sherry was promoted to the recreation division manager, so now we had an opening there, and Kelsey Heehon is now doing that. Has a terrific background, especially in TR recreation as well as school-age care. And that dovetails right into the fact that we're moving forward. We're making good progress on the school-age care center that's going on this campus. I don't know, we might be ready for spring next year, we'll see, and do that. We're working with prices now on them. You have to get playgrounds on site, so naturally Public Works ain't gonna do that. They're gonna turn it over to us. When we met last, we talked about the Lancaster playground. Had we installed that, Chris?
I know we've talked about it before. I don't know.
Yeah, but a big one. Yeah, and I've gotten some overhead pictures from there that are just fantastic. We maybe should email them some tomorrow morning. Let you see some of these pictures of the new playground at Lancaster that go along. You'll be excited about seeing those. But we have so our school age care. So think about these two positions recently. School age care has come aboard. Sports will be coming soon, and also our Parks Operations Coordinator. So now we have a Parks Operation Manager, Kyle Keyball. We had the two coordinators. Now we have a vacancy at the coordinator spot because we're going to be able to separate the county in the north and south. And that will be so much to the youth sports, all the leagues, from soccer, baseball, softball, lacrosse, having that kind of management system. Remember, Tyrone for so many years was from Mechanicsville to Cardinal Gibbons. And now with the field dragging management system in place and so much more, this is going to be really effective and meet the needs of everybody. You'll see a difference, I'm sure. Staff is getting ready for the Easter Festival. That's coming here in, 23rd of March, and the Air Cherry Blossom Festival right behind it on April 4th. Did I get that right? 6th. Okay, my bad. April 6th, Saturday, April 6th at Lexington Manor, Passive Park. So you can see a lot going on, special events, the facilities, Leonard Hall, Carver, Gymnastics Center I've spoken about. We're looking to possibly even put a pickleball court daytime use at Margaret Brent, if it can happen at Carver, so on that hardwood floor there. So let me switch over now. Delay switches on Field 2 at Dorsey Park, we talked about last meeting, been installed, but there's a little quibble there in the fact that it's not fully functioning, but it's on. Musco installed it, and we're ready to move forward to get all the data we can from there, and so that there, whatever cost savings that allows us. But we'll know that. We'll know that soon. Not soon, but in a few months. And then the LED retrofit light project began at Dorsey. They had to come off, so they'll be starting back on the 15th. But noticeable eye difference, though, because 4 of the 6 poles have been done, noticeable eye difference, but your eyes can fool you. But once we get all 6 done, then we go over there, and then they'll be measured to the proper rate, and we'll see what we did. But I think we're going to see a big improvement there. Then we head up to the field at 5th District Park for the football field and get those done, and then it'll be time after that to bid out a project for the rest of the fields. League leader meeting for the sports, we're going to do something different. We're going to try it all on the same night, but separate. So Monday, January the 29th, we're going to go, let's say, a meeting beginning as early as 5:30, ending at 6:45, starting another one at 7, and ended at 8:15. So on 2 nights, both leagues at the same time in the same evening, because there's a lot to still get done, missing one of our key players to get done and get moving forward to get ready for March the 1st. But we'll have it done, there's no doubt in my mind. And then lastly, then I'll be ready to answer any questions you have, is, the skate park contractor has been selected, and that's for the renovation at Nicolette and the new one at Chaptico Park. They've even said back now they think they can begin the work sooner. Most vendors were a year out when we contacted them. Artisan came back and said, well, we maybe can begin in August, and now they've even moved it back to May. But on Monday, December 18th, we had a virtual meeting with the community. We had 20-some there virtually giving input to the vendor contractor so they heard from the community as well as staff. So that's pretty big. That's pretty quick getting that moving through. So facilities, special events, new staffing, lighting, league leader meetings coming up, in the skate park. Those are my updates. So any question, them, or any questions about anything that's coming to pass as we're speaking?
Well, it was definitely a lot of good information. I see that the new year has kicked off quite busily for you. Mm-hmm. As far as the skate parks, that contractors for both Nicolette and Chaptico?
Yeah, and there'll be cost savings with that, because we asked everybody that as we were choosing. See, this is national contract Sourcewell, so we had the ability to select, because they've already been in the bid process to get on the national contract. So to be able to select, so we had 2 of the 3 were on site. 1 of the 3, was virtual. But generally they were all, there was some small things that why we selected Artisan, and we think they'll be on the site more often, closer, and some of the small things, that the renovation at Nicolette, spending less money on demolition and more on actually renovation and equipment.
Nice.
It's gonna be nice. Have you ever heard of a pump track? In the skate park genre, the pump track? That's the part, you can do it with asphalt that is just a hilly, and you can keep moving all the way. Because everybody in the, not saying they were all in favor of total pump track, but more street plaza skating instead of the high-risk skating, and we'll keep some of that at Nicolette. But by doing that at Chaptico is where we're going to install that and see how that works most likely, because you already have the bikes there. Bikes can get on it too. And you have the BMX, somebody 6 years old, you can do it at your own time and integrate each person together. So we're excited about the possibility of that.
That's great. It has been quite a few years since I've been to Nicolette Skate Park, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And then pickleball, do they have leagues?
I
Are
don't
they
know.
competitive leagues, or they're just
No, and
people
and we
making
talked
reservation as groups?
I'm glad you brought that, because we talked about that too. Because now we're talking about, pickleball's real. So a couple of other things we were talking about: pickleball lessons, pickleball clinics, possible leagues. Now we don't want to do all that. We want to help facilitate it, like youth sports. But the biggest one for me is still fair use. For instance, let's take a youth sports. Let's take baseball, for instance. If you got there and you said, well, the first one there wins or gets the field, what would that look like? And see, that's some ways with pickleball. How can we do it so people arrive, know they can get a match in, but they don't have to get 6 to play at 7:30? And so Jessica's done a super job with a reservation system like we would do with lap swim lanes. And then you could get your time, and then you could reserve it there. And then what's going to happen there is they're going to have to be, on those places, there's going to have to be somebody there to ensure that goes well. But for this new reservation, if we go to the reservation system, there's a cost with that. But that's why I had the public in to see, here's what the prices will probably be to get that so that it's fair. And are you willing to pay it? And then also how the punch pass would work. So great meeting this morning. I'm looking forward to meeting with the outside group, because that's going to be a little more challenging. Because we know going inside of buildings have some, restriction and guidelines, but open court's kind of like, whoa, wait a minute now. So but I want to meet with them, and I could even meet in a room this size and have as many that want to come, because it's central, is just to say, I don't want to be the rule guy. I just want to make sure that everybody's served fairly. And if that means us stepping in, or if you guys show that there's a system out there that you can do, be glad to work with that. I appreciate you asking that question. Pickleball.
Where's the league leader meeting at? On the 29th.
Chancellors, most likely, but I'm not gonna confirm that because some of that we might have it in here too, because this is now you're talking about a bigger groups and you're talking about centralized, because we might even bring our hourly training in here just so we can tape it. Not that it will be live, but we'll tape it, because what happens is when you do a good training, now when a staff member, hourly staff person comes on and it's training's in March, and then they come on in June because you're glad they come on. Well, you watch this hour video, and because we've been just doing the training once or twice a year. Now we can do it. That's part of your entrance, is to watch that video of de-escalation training, how to drag a field, use of a gator, all those things.
That's a great idea.
Yep. Oh, and let me say too, while we're at, and I should have mentioned it before. Another highlight of mine was last night, because of when I left Saturday down there at the park at the life celebration, the life and legacy celebration. Hourly staff was there, and their eagerness to support Tyrone even in death, to support him and through working hard and being encouraged. We met last night as a group just to say, okay, how we're going to sign, who's going to take. So we know it's going to be a while for vacancies filled, but I was very encouraged when I left last night with the hourly staff, even the full-time staff, Roy, Kyle, which is another one I didn't mention. Yeah, I did. Marguerite's her name, though. Marguerite Cardenudo, she was there, and the hourlies, and we all got together and decided and how we're going to take on the work, the point of contact, so a smooth transition. So last night was very encouraging for me and the department.
Definitely a true testament of his leadership.
Mm-hmm. Chrissy, does that mean you're ready? Is the interim chair saying it's time to move on?
Slide.
I'm gonna hang out with you right here. Is that all right?
Of course, obviously, if anybody has any questions.
The only question I had was just on the lights, just because I've kept up with that a little bit, but you'd mentioned the once we get done at I forget the park you said we're moving to.
Dorsey in 5th District. Yep.
You said it goes back up for rebid. Like, what does that look like? Like, is there a specific company we know, or are we single source, or are we opening it up to? I don't know how that works.
Oh, that's good. So we have $450,000 for retrofitting LED lights. And we know, and then we have a pecking order to get them done because we went out and measured them. So the ones that need it the most. Dorsey was one that's 90 foot. Probably wasn't the least graded, but with that baseball, that sphere called a baseball jacks it up a little bit as opposed to a soccer ball or a football. 5th District Park needs it. Football field at Lancaster needs it. But the amount of rebate that we got in this one did not get the project under $30,000. So because those two did, we went with the SMECO Sole Source Energy Select, and we could. They took the rebate on, which they could, and then just gave us the cost after rebate. So let's say it cost $48,000, and there was a rebate that got it under 30. Well, that's why we did those two projects. Now we have the rest of them that are going to require bidding it out and how that's going to work. And you even take the company called Musco. So probably what our requirement would be was that the company takes on the rebate, because they can do that with SMECO, get that rebate, and then it boils down to who gives the lowest cost, and you can use that rebate to do that. And if I was anybody doing it, that's what they'd want to do. So then we just have to bid that out to a company to do the rest of the fields.
Okay.
And and I don't know if we're going to get all of them in this stretch, so, but we'll see. And it might take another fiscal year to do it, but we're going to get the ones that are at the least. Like to get chancellors done.
That's great.
Did that answer you, Mr. Kennedy?
It did, yes, sir.
Okay.
And then the other thing was the MSA, the MOU you'd mentioned. obviously that's a phased approach to get to that point for completion, right? Not something that's.
Yeah, so with that, once again, the MSA MOU, then that just sets the parameters of what the scope of work that they're gonna do. And then once that's signed by the commissioners of the MSA, then boom, it's off to get the work done. And again, it's location, costs, and feasibility. And then they'll come back with that. Then that's when the commissioners will say, well, whoa, we can bite that off maybe in 27, 28, 29, or it's up here and they say, hey, we're gonna have to keep that out as a marker 5 years from now, and then we'll see how it goes.
Because the point of that
And
survey study is to see what type of use the land can be used for, right?
One of the major parts.
So I guess in my mind, like, how does that work? Of, let's say they come back and they're like, hey, you can do all of these different types. You can't do them all, but you have to do some. What body kind of racks and stacks of like, well, we have this many, because obviously you guys track for, your sports that Rex and Park controls versus some of the outside league leaders and things like that. How do you fit that in, and then do you bring them in and say, hey, we can build, and I'm making this up on the fly, we can build 10 baseball fields,
Right.
or we can build 3 baseball fields and 2 soccer fields, or like, how do you divide that mix when they come back with that?
Well, generally what you do is then that's when you master plan a park. So now you go back with the commissioners and say, put some money in and get a vendor then to do that one would be where it wouldn't be this great master plan because we know what, but now let's master plan it to find out what we're going to put in there, and then all that comes back out. And that would be through with public input.
What is that? Again, I'm asking.
Well, in other words, in the first phase, let's say, because we always think about the first phase, let's get this open. Do we need 4 turf baseball fields? Do we need Bermuda fields and some additional tournament multi-sport fields? Do we need racket sports in there, and the different things that would go in that sports complex? And that's master planned in there. How will that fit in there? And then go back out. But a lot of that's going to be cut right through what we're getting done. It'll be the cost of, but it might say for 6 fields or per field, and it can take up to 8. But then you have to get back, and so then that's when we get the commissioners involved, the board involved, and the public involved.
And is that something that we would like you hold because I feel like that's a big deal for the county. Something like that.
Oh,
like
yeah, there'll be a public meeting for that.
I'm assuming the little bit I've lived in Maryland, the Maryland Stadium Authority is not a small venue. So if you've got them involved, it's a larger, bigger deal. And I'm only saying that of like, I've seen the baseball fields that also double as athletic fields in the outfield because they're turf or whatever.
Sure.
Of different things of like, how do you bring people in here and put it up on the board? And I was very curious how that works.
Yeah, it'd be public. It'd be here to make all those decisions. If you think when we did the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan every 5 years, that public is invited to do that. When we did the economic and economic analysis, market and economic analysis, MSA came down and brought people in then, and they asked us as a list of the potential users, from the sports league leaders to St. Mary's College to the different groups that would use a sports complex. So that's part of their getting this done as well.
Okay.
So no, we'll want to hear from you. Remember, I wanted to hear from a group of pickleball players and much less. And good news is we're going to be fixing those tennis courts and pickleball courts at 7th District Park in FY21 money. So hopefully we can get them ready before it gets cold next fall. So that'll be a big lift over in the 7th District. And then I'm pretty confident them 2 sets of bathrooms at Chancellor's Run are going to be ready for opening day at Little League Baseball this year.
That'd be great.
Oh, would it be? So get them ready to go and have that, and no longer. We're gonna make some savings on the indoor building, because sometimes we have the Loeffler building open just as a restroom in the evening, and that's staffed and all the things that go with it. But we'll have those 2 sets of bathrooms. That won't be necessary anymore.
Will they pipe in the water fountain outside?
Don't think so.
Sadly, I feel like that was rhetorical.
But that can come. What, to fill the bottles up?
Again, I know I mentioned that to you before. Like, I kind of didn't even pay attention to. If you're there for more than one game or so, you're like, hey, let's go fill the water up. And then the kids come back and it kind of smells funny. You're like, where'd you get this from? They're like, oh, the bathroom. Ugh. Where's the water fountain? Circle, circle. There's not one, so kind of interesting.
Yeah, COVID put a place on us there. Now, I know the press, those are good. I'll agree with that 100%, but that the water fountain kind of got obsolete there for a second, for a brief time.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to CIP. I'm not going to review all of our capital projects tonight. We're just going to go over the 4 waterfront properties and the trail. Start with Snow Hill. Got a lot of work going on with Snow Hill. Still working on the design and engineering for the boat and kayak launches. The plans all have been submitted to the county and the state for review, and our consultants are making changes and additions to the plans based on those comments from the state. We're also, as separate but the same, doing the engineering for the entrance improvements. As you guys know from past conversations, cutting down some of that hill, having a retaining wall so you have the line of sight that's safer when you're pulling in and out of the park, especially with vehicles that'll now be pulling trailers, boat trailers. Have received permits to remove all those old sidewalks. I'll have a slide to show you that, what's coming out. And we got approval to build the new pavilion and playground. I have some slides to give you a preview on that. So improvements are all coming. Here is a nice little sneak preview of the playground and the pavilion. The playground is the same colors. Actually, I think we changed one of them. The slides are different colors. So these aren't the colors you'll see, but they're close.
Very
just
close.
those natural colors that kind of blend in. There is a nature type theme with some of the things in the playground. As requested in the master plan when we had all those meetings for the master plan for this property. So a little sneak peek at what that's playground scheduled. It's not on the calendar yet, but it will be built this spring, as well as
Nice.
the pavilion. We'll see the time period for, if you remember when we did the pavilion at Lexington Manor Passive Park, had a huge delay from production, so hopefully we won't run into that and we can get them both done at the same time. This slide, I just want to kind of show you some of the demolition that's going on. You know, the old manor house was done with a controlled burn, so that's gone. And all the things that are outlined in orange. So we had the 2 pools that used to be on the property that were filled in. All of the sidewalks and decking, concrete decking around those pools are being removed. All of those connecting sidewalks that would then be connecting you to nowhere are being removed. Eventually, the old pavilion will be removed, but we're not going to take that out till the new one is in and functioning. There's tennis courts, and then there's an old bocce court, and so all of that will be taken out. That allowed us to get a credit to do some transfer so we can then put in the playground and the pavilion. So I wanted to show you this slide so you can kind of get a feel for where those 2 new amenities are going to go. You also get a little preview of the parking that's planned, because I wanted to make sure that our pavilion and our playground were going to line up with the parking.
Christy, share with them a little bit more, just briefly, about the work that you did and got done to get us before the planning commission so that we could get those credits so that we could do what we did.
So this green line is the 100-foot, or actually 200-foot buffer for the critical area. 666 square feet of that pavilion was inside the buffer. So we had to do quite a bit of extra work and mitigation to have the allowance to be able to do this. We went to the Planning Commission and asked for a transfer. Because we are removing so much impervious surface inside of the buffer, we were able to do a transfer to allow the new piece of concrete that'll be under the pavilion. So it was quite a lot of learning, but very excited. The Planning Commission was very excited about the project in general and everything that's going on at Snow Hill. So we did get that approval, and again, hopefully all of that will come this spring.
Was it a 1-for-1 trade-off for what you
Oh,
tore
no,
down?
we've taken out a lot more than we're
What I
putting
thought. It
back
looks-
in.
No, we did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to take out over 14,000 square feet, and we're putting in 666.
Could
Because
you-
even the other amenities that we talked about won't be in that buffer. They'll still, everything's in the critical area, but it won't be in the buffer.
Would they allow you to do more inside the buffer, or were you limited to just kind of that number? Just
No, I mean, we'd have to go through the same process that
Okay.
we already went through. You know, with the boat launch and the kayak launch, there is obviously going to be more that's going in there. It's a little bit different rules when you have the access to the water, and that's the whole point of the disruption into the buffer. So obviously the boat launch has a little bit different, but basically it just means you have different mitigations. So you might have to plant a half a dozen trees versus an entire forest kind of thing. We were very lucky that there wasn't any additional mitigation because we have taken out or will be taking out.
great work.
We have a purchase order cut, and it should be happening
That's
very
wonderful.
No, great job. I know that can be tedious.
soon. Yeah, it was a little tedious.
It was good.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Don.
Are pets allowed, not particularly this particular park, but at all of our beach parks, are pets allowed, Director?
Yes, on a leash.
Okay, and we had talked a while back about, dog parks. Has anything moved along with that in any of the parks?
Not the construction yet, but we got some POs cut and the quotes and getting them done at 7th District, Dorsey, and 5th District Park.
It just
Still moving forward.
Yeah, just recently, the dog park projects were approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works, so we're just now able to start moving forward with them.
That's
And will
right.
those just be a separate area in the park that's fenced in, I'm assuming, and
Shade structures, accessibility, water. Yeah, they're more than what you would think as far as the cost. But I think I might have said this before though. It's challenging because those three parks are tight. In other words, where do you do that doesn't feel like dogs and that activity? Because at Lancaster we have it. Remember, it's across the street from the baseball and open field. It's nowhere near the turf field and the basketball court. So what a great place was there at Lancaster. But at 7th, you're going to be on top of some amenity from the restroom to the 90-foot diamond, the 60 there, 60 up there. We've searched that. Tennis court. So again, take the end that's I'm the dog park right here. This is the dog park, and you're the baseball fields or multi-purpose fields. Put up a higher fence on this end with the what are those called? The nets that you see on the tennis courts, the wind screens. You put the wind screens there, and then that kind of gives you that buffer that people aren't looking into that, or the dogs might be annoyed by other people, all that movement. So that's probably the strategy we're going to have to use: a taller fence
Get the baseballs.
with a windscreen.
So,
Just say the dog's trying to get the baseballs.
That's right.
so is there a plan, for instance, a designated area that activities, people that come with a pet are sort of in a designated area?
Yes.
That's going to be in here?
at Snow Hill? I think,
Oh,
is that
no,
what you're asking?
Snow Hill won't be having a dog park at this,
I
at
think
this,
he's
at this
asking
phase.
about are you asking where the pets could go at Snow Park or Snow
As
Hill?
long as they're on a leash in any of our parks, they can be, they're
Go
allowed.
anywhere.
And, but it
They're
must.
allowed anywhere, right?
Yeah, they
as
must
long-
be on a leash.
But a dog park was not in the master plan as an amenity that was requested by the public through the meeting, so it's not planned and it's not in the master plan.
It could come at a later date. We have the property there, but it's not in there.
That kind of goes back to a question I had earlier of like how, when you said public meeting, again, total ignorance, first meeting, what does that mean? Like if I'm just a random county citizen, how do I know, like, man, I really wish, oh, they're doing construction. I wish I could tell them I want to add this or that.
We come on your job.
Yeah.
They,
So, social media, press releases, all those avenues to try to get people to notice.
it's
the public meeting.
announced prior that there will be a public hearing for the community to come.
Okay, so public hearing.
Citizens can come.
Yeah, this Snow Hill Park, we had a real nice turnout there with the Hollywood Recreation Center for that. And then we've had more than one, and then
We put together a committee, and it was people that had requested to be put on it. We didn't go out and pick people to be on it. And the committee actually met several times to talk about different desires, like keeping it nature park, having it not active recreation. But then we also did the public meetings and that one actually had a public hearing that went along with it as well. So there was numerous opportunities for the community to chime in, but it also can be an email.
and people do find you. In other words, find me. Once they find out that the Shannon Farm, for instance, those in the neighborhood there at Gate 3 Long Road, what's going on, they called. Therefore, I asked them to serve on that initial committee to be there and then to bring people out. So that's another way. The community itself brings people out.
Okay.
So Shannon Farm, things that are coming, obviously, the boardwalk and the pathway to the beach, a parking lot that'll be located right near the homegrown farmers market. Everything will obviously be accessible, eventually some restrooms, and playgrounds. The commissioners have actually, when we did the master plan approval, talked about having 2 different playgrounds, one up by the parking area that could be used for the homegrown market folks as well. That master plan was approved in January, so almost a year ago now. Design and engineering plans have been completed, and they all have been submitted to the Navy, because again, we purchased that property with REPI funds, so the Navy has an approval process, and the county. The final plans and comments have been literally just this week were returned to the county for that kind of final review. So we're making some progress. I gave you, I know this is very, not the easiest on the eyes, but it does give you a good idea of how far this boardwalk really goes. All the way to the left where my cursor is, that's your homegrown market area and where the parking will be. And then this is your boardwalk and bridges and causeways and that take you all the way down to the water. This plan this design and engineering that we are doing is just for that parking and the access to the beach. The other amenities, such as the bathrooms or playgrounds, we would do as a department separately.
Let me jump in too, Chris. She used a word, and some of you might remember, but Mr. Kennedy's here for the first night, REPI funds. And I had a look, I knew what it was, but I wanted to make sure I get the acronym right. Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration. And that's a cost sharing by the military. They will put money in. So in other words, Shannon Farm, there was no money. Well, no, it was Snow Hill, no money of that 1.8 million spent by the county. It was the Navy, it was the local share program, open space, and the state put some money in there to make that 1.8. And the Navy wants to do it and a lot to do with encroachment and passive recreation. That's why you see this as a passive park. Snow Hill will be 2 because density and encroachment. They want that land to be preserved because at one time, Shannon Farm, they were going to have a PUD back there, some 300-400 homes. So the Navy was really anxious to assist with purchasing that property for a low impact passive park it was mission critical to get that done. So those are 2 recent funding projects by Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration with the United States Navy. And we have meetings with them once, twice a year.
Shannon Farm poses a lot of, all the waterfront parks do, as you can imagine, right? It's pretty much all critical area because it's all forested. You have interior dwelling species that you have to pay attention to. Each type has their own limitations on what you can do on the property. So there's a lot of restrictions that come on all of these waterfront properties because of the actual wetlands and FIDS habitats that are located in their critical area.
What's the target date on this particular part for all the amenities to be completed?
I don't know that we necessarily have a target date for all of the amenities. And I'd probably, to give you a really honest answer, have to email you out or even bring it up next meeting on the target for when the boardwalk will be done.
We're talking about Shannon Farm, Don?
Yeah.
Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one of the things, that's going to be a discussion in this year's, in a few weeks in the CIP budget work session to get that money moved back into that project. So that has a lot to do with the years that the money's available.
So is there an estimated target date, 2028, 29?
Oh, I'll be able to tell you probably in the March meeting because of the budget work session, because the money was moved out of there in order to purchase the gymnastics center. So no new money in FY24, that was moved out. But now it's when is it coming back in to get Shannon Farm moving back forward again. So I'm sure there's gonna be some pretty good discussion on that project here in a few weeks. Okay?
That's the one you said was a shared cost with the Navy?
That,
One of the
two of
ones.
them, Shannon Farm and Snow Hill.
Okay.
So Elms Beach is a little bit different in that we don't own this property. It is state property and we have a lease with them. So rather than getting approvals through the Navy, any of the work that we do at Elms Beach, we have to get approvals through the Department of Natural Resources. We have, last year we bidded out and got a contractor to do the architect and engineering based on the master plan there. We have received preliminary designs, ran across a little bit of a challenge. We, in going to find where we can perk that property to put in a real restroom versus porta potties. First day I had those perk applications submitted that they were open, and within a week perks had closed for the season. So the property hasn't been perked, so we're kind of in a holding pattern for being able to do any more design and engineering. We did have a meeting recently where we made some suggestions for some changes to the restroom. Mr. Shepherd had brought up versus having, the restrooms that you're used to at parks like that. You walk in and it's a group restroom, one large restroom. We looked at breaking it up into having 6 individual restrooms and then one large family changing area and restroom. Each restroom will have a changing area as well as the restroom facility. So we have been able to do some design work on the property, but unfortunately, until we can perk it and know where we can put the restroom and the drain fields, we are kind of in a holding pattern. We also got the design for the pavilion as well.
So right now the bottleneck for that is the perk?
Yes. Can't put the final design location in until we know where it'll go. This is one of the drafts. The other thing we did is parking. This plan here, I know it's an awful lot to look at, but it includes 161 parking spots, which is considerably more than what's down there. Well, and what's down there now is dirt as well. But this area, this is where your existing playground is. So anybody that's familiar with that park now, you come in and you're actually parking right here. Your existing park's here, playground's here. So everything's getting shifted around. But the biggest thing for me, if you'll notice on here, is all of the access pathways. Now everywhere you want to go inside Elms Beach, you'll be able to do regardless of ability level. All of the picnic tables will be on pads. You'll have access to the beach and then a Moby mat out onto the beach. So it'll be maximum accessibility. But again, just kind of in a holding pattern until we can determine exactly where the restroom building will be able to be located.
Has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I remember learning perks and how that works moving back here, and I thought it was just the way it was. But again, stationed in Kansas for a year, I brought that up to somebody, and they were like, "You got to wait for how long to get a perk?" So like, I don't know enough about that, but is that something where the department can just go get somebody else? Like, there's only one person in the
The
whole
health
county
department does it. And there are also, again, we talked about lots of restrictions on the waterfront properties. And one of the things is they don't allow some of the alternative restroom facilities in there. So we are really limited on what we can actually put on that property. And of course, we'd like a flush system to be there and have a nice restroom facility. But fingers crossed, the perk season will open back up in the spring and we'll be able to get that information.
Yeah, so the ribbon was cut on this park in June 1979. So I think this June will be 45 years old, and this will be its first renovation.
So this park is not Elms Beach. Would it be fair to say that it's, at this particular time, it's the most used beachfront that we have in the county?
On the weekends, for sure.
So from an income point of view, I know we've had this conversation before about the staffing of the park, considerations for it being staffed and opened to receive revenue on a daily basis. The revenue income from this particular park, did it cover expenses? Did it move ahead, or?
Oh, yes, and as we're working on the operating budget now and here and look at all the parks, I have some work to do that you brought this up about if we're going to increase a fee maybe by $1 to get some back. Because what it's taking now for the amount of people that are in those parks because of the crowd, it also is staff where there are a lot. One of the things we do is we put deputies down on the water at Myrtle Point because behaviors arriving by boat there. So you put all the parks together. Yeah, we're right about breaking even on making sure because it's not that much. There's passes that really are affordable and can get you in. But if you didn't have a pass, $7 per car to these parks. So if you had a family, if 4 of you went, $7 and you could get there. But yes, breaking even, if not a little bit better. But I'm working on those final numbers now to make sure. Because again, this is another with the hourly, that minimum wage put us at a certain point. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, the only real concern I ever hear about this park is during the week not having staff there and people being uncomfortable going there. Okay, and that's the reason why I bring the subject up. And I don't know how much feedback you get as director, from the public, with that particular remark, but I get that all the time.
Which park? I'm sorry.
Elms Beach.
Elms Beach. The people aren't comfortable at Elms Beach. People aren't comfortable at Elms Beach. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, during the week.
In particular, Elms Beach. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So
And one last point, because you address it both at the same time. So we moved the county. The commissioners moved from, I think, $45,000 to $65,000 for the police department staffing. So, any idea how much of that goes into this park on weekends or whatever, or is it just particular weekends?
Yeah, it'd be particular. We don't staff this with that now. But the answer is that's a great question because I'm not a great comment because I hear at certain parks I do, but Don, the truth of the matter, I haven't heard that one that much about the weekday. We put staff at the week at Snow Hill, but it's not based on behaviors. It's based on amenities there, and we just where it is and letting people in. But I'll try to get some investigative work. And if somebody asks you, ask them to call the director too, because I really want to know. I don't want it to be defensive. I want to know because that's a management issue that I should be concerned about. Okay, I have no issue with that. Hearing about that.
Yeah, it's not that I go there every day because I don't, but the times that I do visit that beach on purpose, during the week, and especially the morning areas, early afternoons type of thing. It's especially mornings. I'll say prior to lunchtime. A lot of women with small children, and so I'm not sure that I don't think it's the $7 for the fee coming in. I think that's not a problem.
Yeah.
at all. I think that, the considerations, if things are covering the expenses there, I think the department should give a hard look at staffing that park so that be more welcomed, more a bigger comfort zone. Maybe that's the right word I'm
So,
looking
and
for.
then one of the things too you think about is, let's say we're going to meet in the middle somewhere, because if it meets and say, we're not normally having, let's say it could be a long weekend, so Mondays, and then Fridays. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's what it is. But you know that moms, and during the school day and school week, they have Mondays and Fridays with a staff person there to 1 o'clock. And then in that way, they know everybody's coming. So
If
there's
they know what
different
the
ways.
schedule is, yeah.
Yeah, they know what the schedule is. So that's a good comment there, Mr. Graves. You're helping me out on that one. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll move on to Myrtle Point. So this was very exciting for me. This is our 4th waterfront property, and as of last month, we have a consultant hired to do the architect and engineering based on that master plan. We have a kickoff meeting scheduled for the end of this month where we'll meet with the architects, with a bunch of the different other consultants that are be involved in the project on the property, to do a little property tour and discussion and get that project started. I expect to have a virtual meeting maybe the week after that to do some follow-up questions. So Myrtle Point has its own master plan. It is fairly old, and there are, because of the master plan being old, we might still have some input and want to hear from people. But overwhelmingly, again, for these waterfront parks, the citizens have made it clear that they want it to stay very passive nature parks and keeping that environmentally friendly. So Myrtle Point is on its way, and you'll be hearing more things here. I did put in the master plan for you. This is just an illustrative plan. It shows you some of the amenities. Again, one of our focuses is getting people of all abilities to the water. So finding some creative ways to get accessibility down to the Point Beach, and then also a kayak launch. So your kayak launch would come out over in this area, and then the access to the beach would be, I believe it's Thomas Point. So that is Myrtle Point. The final project I have here for you is.
I'd like to go back to
ahead.
Myrtle Point if I can for 1
Go
second.
ahead.
Thank you. On here it says kickoff meeting on site scheduled for January 2024. What's that mean?
That's where myself and Arthur will meet with the architect and the engineers and the other consultants that'll be involved in that project, in the design of that project on site, to walk the site so they're more familiar with it. They see the concerns or any of the challenges they may have.
So
based on actually
it's
seeing-
referring to staff.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Three Notch Trail. Making lots of progress with the trail. We have almost finalized all of our right-of-way concerns, which is a huge check off the box of getting things moving forward. Hoping to visit with the commissioners not too far in the future to do a temporary construction easement on some property. Final engineer drawings and comments. Again, we've submitted all of our drawings to the county. We have received comments back from all the different agencies that are involved in technical evaluation, and we have made comments and changes to the plans and resubmitted them last month. So the 100% plans for the design are nearly to the permit process. Because of having the Transportation Alternatives Grant for the trail, there are a lot of other processes that need to be done prior to going to bid for construction, but we're getting very close, and there's a lot of progress being made on the Three Notch Trail. Oh, and I didn't give you a slide for that. But any questions that you guys have on any of these projects?
Remind me, Phase 7 is at,
Phase 7 starts at the Trailhead property that we purchased that was going to be the new Rescue Squad property and goes basically to the shopping center where Harris Teeter is located.
It's that Blue Water Tower in Hollywood.
I know, right.
3.3 miles.
Just two real quick is, since we've met, the pathways at the community garden have been installed at the Lexington Manor Passive Park. They're very attractive, but naturally they're wide and accessible coming right out of the parking lot or from the trail to get in the community garden. When you get through there, look at that. And then lastly, the Maryland's Arts Council, St. Mary's Arts Council, and the department partnered for that arts planning grant, and $10,000. That was funded through the Arts Council. Now we have the arts planning plan. Look for that. I think, Christy, I'll be prepared to send that out in the morning to the board, and they can just look for that. That's completed, that's done, that's over. But you can look at that and see some of the plans to enhance that. One of the first things we want to do is get involved in the tree planting plan that they're talking about at shade and different nodes throughout the park. But with that, with the community garden and what's going on there and what we're doing with the arts planning grant and the murals, it's really looking up at Lexington Manor, constantly something changing.
And I really hope if you guys are on Facebook, find the Lexington Manor Passive Park Community Garden page and like it. There will be some volunteer days that they'll be posting up for people to come over, help till up some of the property, build some of the raised beds, put some lights up. So there will be a couple of those in February.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You know, I forgot at Mr. Kennedy's orientation, the amount of volunteer hours you have to put in your first year. I forgot to tell him.
Is that because you gave
Yeah,
me
yeah. That was my commercial right there.
prep that? I was like, wow, that sounds familiar. Oh, yeah.
Director, before you go.
Yes, yes.
I've had one question. It's not on the agenda. It should be quick. I've had some inquiries about the communication with the department from anyone that, for lack of a better term, phone calls are, everything is to be done by email now. Is that correct, or?
Give me some more, just a little bit more, everything by email.
Well,
For what?
it was stated to me on a couple occasions, and that's why I'm trying to get clarification there, that phone calls were made and the individuals making the calls were stated that all requests had to go with an
Field
email.
requests?
I beg your pardon?
Field requests? That's what, yeah, I'm just asking what phone calls you're about. I'm not clear just yet.
Well, I don't want to go into, what department or who the individual was or anything
No,
like
you don't
that.
have to do that.
There hasn't been any change in relationship to communicating. There hasn't been a directive from you that everything should be handled with an email at this point? A request of,
For request use of fields, from the beginning, that's what an online reservation system's for, is to minimize all the discussions. That's what, everybody wanted and asked. So that's all we're trying to do. You go in, you register your field, you get the receipt back, and that's what it is. But we speak to people, and that ain't any problem. But the online system is meant to not tax the time in the office and the overlay. You get your field, you put your permit in, and you receive your permit back.
I'm fine with that answer.
Yeah.
I just think it's, from a public point of view, it's out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
The only other thing was, where are you at with the bathrooms at Chancellor's Run Regional Park? Where are we at with that? I know it has to be frustrating, but
No, they you look like you could walk in them today, but they still have some work to do with the electric, getting that on. But they'll be ready for the spring ball.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Because they're up, they're roofed, they're ready to go, but just the final touches of getting everything in. But if they're not ready for spring ball, that would just be. But they're ready. That'll be nice.
I thought I heard we were hoping they're ready for a kickoff for Little League, right?
Well,
That
yeah,
we heard
and
earlier
that's spring
tonight?
ball for sure. And Little League opening day, I'd hope they're ready for 1st of March, not the 1st of April for Little League's opening day. That's generally when Little League opening day is, about the first Saturday in April, somewhere around there.
Sounds right.
But yeah, they should be. They're there because that's the
April 6th.
April 6th. That's with the Lexington Manor Passive Park, Chapter Co, Dorsey, the same company did all 3 of those bathrooms, so I'm confident where they are that they should be ready by the 1st of March. Okay?
All right,
Thank you.
so last meeting, we did go over the meeting schedule, but you guys overwhelmingly said you wanted to bring it back up again this meeting, since we had new membership here. So on your screen, you can see the dates. If everybody's still good with holding meetings on all those dates, we don't need to do any motions or anything. We just wanted to bring it back up. So is everybody still good with the schedule we approved last meeting?
I'm
Yes.
still good with the schedule, and if there's nothing happening, we can always cancel one. But at least we will have the room and everything reserved. I see that we don't have one in July. I think that's smart.
Actually fell on the 4th of
4th of
July.
July.
Yeah.
Right.
I would point out to all the members that I believe April, August, and September, there were no meetings last year. So, you know, we've never really met all these months. So,
Okay, all right. Well, then that is the last thing on the agenda that we have today. We do have board member remarks, but before we get to board member remarks, just remember that Veronica is going to be the person that is going to be reaching out, or you reach out to if you have agenda items for the next meeting. Trying to make sure that we have all the things we discuss on our agenda so the public is aware of what the discussion's going to be and can be here if they want to be here for them. Veronica is charged to get me those agenda items on Friday morning before the meeting, so I have time to put together anything that needs to be put together. If you've got an agenda item that requires department staff to put together information, the earlier you can tell us that, the better, for us to be able to prepare what you want to hear. The more descriptive you are with your agenda items, the better, so we're not guessing on exactly what it is that we should be putting in there for agenda items. So just keep that in mind when you're letting her know what you guys want on our agendas.
I have one more piece of business
Go for it.
that I was thinking about was I believe we need a board member to be the liaison or sit on the Wicomico Golf
We
Board.
absolutely do. Thank you, Veronica. So basically, the Recreation and Parks Board has a representative on the Wicomico Shore Golf Club Advisory Board. Greg Weaver was our representation from this board, and with his leaving the board, we do need to have somebody appointed to also be attending the golf course.
when do they meet?
I meant to look that up before too, and I didn't get.
If you want to start your board remarks,
Oh, no.
I'll look
Okay.
that up for you.
Okay. All right.
And the other question I have relevant to this new position as secretary, I'm smiling under here a lot. I'm sorry, Arthur, did you say something? I thought, thank you. Appreciate your support. You can stop laughing. In regards to protocol, is it all right that the minutes go out to the members to be looked at prior to being finalized? Is that
A good question.
all right to
So
do?
is he
or-
able to send a draft of the meeting minutes to the board members via email and not conflict with open board or open meeting
Well,
policy?
sure, if they're ready by then. If there's a certain time that you want them ahead of time, you just need to let me know. Now, again, remember, my minutes are going to be motions and simplistic descriptions of what's happening. If Donna's secretary decides to make more detailed notes, then he can share whatever he wants. The problem with Open Meetings Act is when you all start discussing them as a group.
Right.
You can send it out with no problem.
Okay.
But if you start discussing them with each other and we're replying to all, then that's technically a meeting. So you can share it, but don't have the discussion. Have the discussion when you come back in here.
Yeah, my concern was whether it was a thread violation between board members, that's all. Thank you.
Great
Right.
question.
So the Golf Course Advisory Board meets quarterly. I've gotten that far for you. Looks like January, April, and October is when they met last year.
So 3 times a year. Is anyone on the board interested in sitting on the golf course board?
I'll volunteer to do it if nobody else wants it.
I will clarify, they meet 4 times. They're scheduled to meet 4 times. Last year, they only met 3, so it could be up to 4 times.
What time are these meetings?
6 o'clock at the golf course.
It's a great place to meet. I love that golf course.
If there's any golfers here, I'm not a golfer, but I'll be happy to go to come back.
I'm a social golfer.
I'll volunteer to do that. Just get the details to me.
I'll get in touch with you, okay? And get you what you need.
Fine.
All right. Thank you so much for remembering that, Veronica. Do you want to start with any board
Sure.
remarks?
So I was just thinking as we were going through those CIP slides tonight that how lucky we are to live in this county and have all of this waterfront accessible to all. So I would just remind everyone to take advantage of the opportunity to get out there. I know it's getting cold now, but even some, in the better weather, get out there and be respectful and remember that it takes all of us to take care of our parks and resources. Thanks.
Looks like the winter leagues will pick up this weekend coming up. So, and I believe that would be the middle school league too, right? Is your first games this Saturday? Mm-hmm. So get out and watch some basketball, indoor soccer, or any other sports that have going on.
We're going back to Great Mills for select basketball this weekend, so hopefully some people can make it down. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so just want to convey a thank you to Chandra and Greg for their service over the years and what they did for the board and running it. I look forward to our new administration. I look forward to hearing your platform in detail at some point in time. No, you guys will do a great job, and thanks for stepping up and volunteering.
You said there's a January budget meeting with the commissioners.
I think it's like next week.
Just curious when that is.
We start back with the budget work sessions on Tuesday, February 13th.
Okay.
That's the operating budget. And then the CIP team, I think we meet the next Monday or so to have a final recommendation. So then probably starting February 13th, right on till we go to the public forum, we meet just about every Tuesday. With commissioners and staff and the other groups, the state agencies and elected officials. Okay.
That's all I have. Thank
That's
you.
it?
I just want to take the quick second. I appreciate everybody humoring me trying to jump right to the top after having sit here for like 5 minutes and talk to like 2 of you. So I appreciate at least the second on that. So hopefully I can garner favor with the board and then also from the community. Again, pretty excited. I know it was months ago I met Mr. Shepard. I was sitting in the back of the room and I kind of told him my way of life and that we left the county on orders and asked to come back. And the first question out of his mouth was, what was it? Like, why did you want to come back to the community? So it's for all the things we've talked about, all the potential that this community has, the historic nature behind it. I've got a little fire team. My wife works at one of the state parks, so we are definitely kind of spreading our wings, and it's great. So to your point as well, of like enjoying the parks that we do have, and then making them better. And with the beach comment, all I could think about was, and I'm glad you guys kept saying it, was I'm thinking, well, we should rival Delaware in sports at the beach. And then you guys started talking about passive parks, so like obviously I didn't bring that up, but that was where my mind was going. So I definitely appreciate being here. So thank you.
I would just like to encourage all of the boards that are involved in the county with whether it's youth sports or adult sports to communicate with the board. We are here to help, move your concerns along, and any one of us can be reached. And I want to encourage that to happen. That's the only way we can advocate for what you may be looking to get accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? A motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I have some pictures I'm gonna send you.